My little reminders going. Okay, great. So let's start. Look, a key purpose of mindfulness, just get our head around this one, is to just live in the present moment, just to be present. A lot of the time we live in our heads, and we live in our heads because there's a lot of entertainment there. There's a lot going on that just draws our attention. And that's in the form of thought. And we so often get not just thought, but we get lost in thought. Sort of like this guy. There he is walking along with his dog. He's really involved in thought. He's not really there. The dog looks as though it probably is. Now, this is not a very satisfying sort of existence. It's a restless existence, really. There's usually some sort of judgment, criticism, unpleasant memory, prediction going on. And there's sometimes can be nice daydreams and stuff like that going on, fantasies, but they're still not really in touch with reality. It often leads to suffering, this sort of thinking, this sort of pattern. And what I've got now is a short little video clip, probably 1.5 to 2 minutes long. This is where just check the audio fairly quickly just to hear it, because the real important is be aware of the video, the visual, but pay a particular attention to the audio, because that's the key points, a learning point in there.
Such an idiot. I always do this. Why did I take the 580? I'm going to be late. God, I'm so tired of being late. Maybe I should get off. Of course, nobody's going to let me get over, are you? No, of course not. I was acquiescing to everyone. I should just get in. Just I end up late. You look like The Walking Dead. How am I supposed to look? I'm always so tired. I'm so tired. I should go somewhere. I should take a vacation. Oh my God, it's him. Please don't see me. I look awful. Please don't look over here. What am I doing? It doesn't matter if he sees me. I am not in his league. That's for sure. I have to carry all my weight in my stomach. Look like Buddha. Mindless and enlightened. I need to stop drinking red wine and eating cheese.
Like a pig.
How scared I am. It's like I'm all by myself. I don't know where to go. This is only lunch today. Just water. David Proctor, that's again. All right. I'm not eating dinner.
So there she was, and she's lost in thought. And I think it tried to put across too that other people quite easily get in there. It's not just her. In this case, it's inner commentary about what's going on. And yours may not be as extreme as that. Sometimes ours is. Sometimes for some people, it's a lot worse than that. But this inner commentary has an effect. And much of the anxiety, the frustration, and the shame that she may be feeling is caused not by what's happening outside her, but by her own thinking, by what's going on inside herself. And when we practice mindfulness, we practice being aware of our thinking rather than being lost in thought. A bit like
Excuse me just a minute, Phil. I found that video quite hard to hear, and someone else has just noted that they could hardly hear that. So can you perhaps just explain what was going on for these people in that video just briefly?
So was it quite difficult for many people to hear?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it either.
What a pity. Okay. Basically what it was this woman was walking around and doing things, but inside you can imagine the inner commentary, just talking to herself about things. What's going on today? Oh, I shouldn't have, I always do this, take this sort of, I always leave late, so I always get caught in the traffic. And here's this guy, oh crikey, I better not let him see me. I'm not really up for that. Walking along, look, I've got too much weight in my tummy. I need to stop eating. And then goes to this guy who's doing a similar commentary, and then this other woman, similar commentary. And it's just trying to get across that it's very easy for us to be living with that inner commentary dominating, and we get lost in it. And it's that inner commentary is what has the effect on how we feel, not what's happening to us, but the biggest effect is from that inner commentary. And when we practice mindfulness, we practice being aware of our thinking rather than being lost in thought. It's a bit like as we watched the video, we were aware of a self-talk and the effect it's having. So there's a bit of distance. It's not happening to you. You could see it. Although she was lost in it, believing it and reacting to it. And that's what we want to do, is when we have that ability to notice our thoughts, we have choice around what thoughts to cultivate and which ones to just let go. This gives us choice. So with mindfulness, we get more choice around our behavior and our thoughts. If we get back to this guy, he's now present. He's now with, much the same as the dog, he's now present in the environment. The dog is experiencing smells, sounds, sights, taste, and he is as well. And that's an alternative way of being. Research suggests that, you know, this way of being present, is by far the happier space for most people. Most often. So one of the things we can think about is, and I want to explore consciousness for a moment. What we have is we have a field of consciousness. And mindfulness is very much about, you could almost call mindfulness consciousness or awareness. There's a slight differentiation. We all have a field of consciousness, of conscious awareness, and everything you experience occurs in it. So you're hearing my voice, you're seeing things with your eyes, you're experiencing all kinds of things with your body, and you may have some thoughts kicking around. So let's explore this just a bit, what it means to be conscious. Could you look around your room for a little? Just look around your room. As you look around your room, notice what your eyes are doing. They move. They may briefly rest someplace, and then they move again. Just look around. And now bring attention to your body and feel what it feels like at the moment. Just explore what's happening inside you and around you for a while. At some stage, sooner or later, in some form, mental activity shows up. Images, self-talk, maybe some sort of emotion, restlessness, confusion, whatever. And consciousness has many things appear in it. We can categorize what appears in consciousness into two key groups: sensory content and content that comes from your mind. That is what we sense, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling. And the other category, what our mind creates, mental activity, memories, dreams, self-talk, mental movies, images, and states such as restlessness, anxiety, shame, resentment, excitement, and so on. So you have these two categories of content in consciousness. And when we decide to be more mindful, we decide to live in the world around us and inside us directly as it is experienced through our senses, rather than live in the world of thought, which is a virtual reality. And we call this present moment awareness. And it's worth thinking, how often are you present? Probably more than you think you are, but there's a lot of times when we're not. Here's an example. This person here is absent. They're at a desk supposedly working, but really they're thinking about the golf game coming up. And this will have consequences, a work performance, satisfaction, etc. But he's got the golf game to look forward to, except he's got a habit of not being there. He's now thinking of being somewhere else again. We're often thinking of the next thing rather than what we're doing right now. So he's not going to have a wonderful putt here. Well, not likely anyway. But he's got the hot date to look forward to. So off he goes to the hot date. But sadly, he's not there. Because we get it, the more we do something, the more we get good at it. So if we're absent a lot, we get good at being absent. He's elsewhere. and she's waiting for him to show up. There's no relationship happening there. So this has quite an effect on his work performance, on his leisure, and on his relationships. If he were just to direct his attention to what is relevant, there he is, present, important, what's happening right now, keeps attention there. That is when magic can happen. The good part, the magical relationship, or even just a relationship. That is mindfulness. Focus on one thing at a time, undistracted, without bringing in judgment, and with a pretty open, sort of curious sort of mindset, where you're just looking as though you haven't seen this before. Perhaps one of the greatest gifts you can give someone is to be present, to give them your attention. Your child may just need to connect with you in order to settle and calm. Your partner may need this connection in order to feel close. And we can just decide to be more present. Okay, I'm going to be more present. Right. But that's easier said than done. So we do something in mindfulness called mind training. We can work out our body to increase strength, flexibility, and stamina. But with mindfulness training, we work out our mind to increase flexibility, focus, clarity, peace, happiness, and health-inducing states. Mindfulness training works to train our attention to go where we want it to and stay where we want it. It helps us to train our awareness, where we can grow our awareness, become more aware of what's happening overall, the bigger picture, the context of things. And we also train our brain and nervous system to tolerate difficult experiences, to react less, in other words. This way, we purposely change our brain so our brain is more skillful in an ongoing way. It may be useful to note here that just as consciousness has two categories of content, sensation and mental activity, consciousness also has two ways of knowing this content. This is really quite key. We know what's happening in consciousness, that content, through attention and also through awareness. And mindfulness training usually starts by training our attention. Let's give this a go. Pay attention for a moment to your left foot. Without looking at it, just pay attention to your left foot. Notice any sensations. Now move your attention to your jaw. How does it feel? Now move attention to sounds. Just listen for a little bit. Now move your attention to your right hand. Notice any sensations. So in that brief exercise, that was really just about this. You have control over your attention. And when we choose to take control, we certainly have it. We can do that. The issue is when you do not consciously control attention, it wanders, goes all over the place, gets scattered, distracted, what we call the wandering mind or the monkey mind. And where you put your attention has a profound effect. It's really important. Without actually doing this, imagine someone's attention wanders into some unpleasant memory. What effect is that likely to have? Probably unpleasant. And if that happens a lot, and even if it gets stuck there, not good. Imagine if somebody's attention wanders into pleasant memories. Well, that has a more pleasant effect. And this can be used as a resource. Where your attention goes has a profound effect. Some people, for instance, consistently notice what's wrong and don't even see what's going well. Like if you walk to the computer, if you walk around, can go shopping, if you can walk around your house, even if you're watching this, there's more going right with your body than there is wrong. So just for a moment. So basically that was moving your attention around. The other thing we can do in mindfulness is once you bring your attention there, bring it to your right hand for a moment. Just move your attention to your right hand. And now zoom in, really feel your right hand. Don't look at it. Don't even have a picture in your mind of your right hand. How do you know you've got a right hand? What sensations can you notice? So you really zoom in, and already you may have had some mental activity come in and interrupt that process. So what we do is we practice directing and sustaining attention, stabilizing that wandering mind, and you could call that a taming the mind. We also practice seeing more, hearing more, feeling more, and putting more bandwidth into what we are experiencing. Sight, feelings, sounds. So in a sense, there's mindfulness where, I mean, we're all mindful. You might go for a walk and suddenly you're aware of what's happening. You notice some birds, you notice the colors, you notice some beautiful things around you, or just notice something which is a threat. So perhaps there's a crack or a hole in the pavement. You're mindful, and then a moment later, you're back in your thoughts. This sort of, we go in and out of this often. So mindfulness is something which is not mystical, it's not strange, it's something we often do. With mindfulness training, we want to do it more often because it makes us more alive and it gives us more choice. Now, before we carry on, I was just wanting to check to see if there's any questions.
So far, there's no questions in the chat here, Phil.
Okay, cool.
But there has been a comment about these slides are brilliant.
Very good. Now, what we're going to do is a little exercise, a little bit more of a mind exercise than before. So I'm going to ask, so just take a couple of breaths and just relax for a moment. Mind exercises do take energy, not maybe as much as mental, physical exercise, but they do take a bit of energy. So just get in the space where for a few minutes, we're just going to be working in your mind, doing a bit of a workout and be very gentle. Everything they ask you to do, you don't need to put a lot of effort into it. Yet many of us have got a habit of striving, of pushing. Back off on that and just do it without too much effort. So no matter whether you are seated or lying down or standing, just for a few moments, look around and just open your eyes and see what is around you. Purposely bring curiosity into play and see what's interesting or different or out of place. So look as though you haven't seen your room before, haven't seen this room before. And just look with curiosity. And now focus on one item that you see. Zoom in and really notice it. Just one item. Notice that while you're focused on it, you're still aware of there being other things in your visual field. You're not paying attention to those other things. They're not prominent. They're just in what we call awareness. So you're paying attention to one particular thing, yet you're still aware of many other things. Now move your focus or your attention to another object. And can you notice attention moving? Maybe move from object to object and just notice your attention moving, yet awareness, everything else in awareness sort of stays the same. It's still, but attention can move within that. It is like attention is a small part of awareness, the part that focuses on a particular object of interest. You could call it local awareness or focus or attention. Now, how about listening for sounds near and close? Hopefully there's some sounds, more than one sound that you can pick up. Focus on one sound and stay with it a little while. Noticing that although you're emphasizing one sound, if there are other sounds, they're still there, but in awareness. Your attention is not on them. They're in the background. And mindfulness meditation involves increasing our awareness, our ability to know what's going on around us in the context, the bigger picture, and at the same time controlling attention so it doesn't get scattered and wander all over the place. Now be aware of your body. How's it feeling? Just sit with it for a while. Let it be. Just notice. See if you can notice without tensing. Just relax and let your body be how it is. And now just be aware of any movement in your body. Your hands may be fidgeting, your eyes blinking, your foot tapping, whatever. But there will be movement associated with the breath. Where do you feel your breath? And where do you feel it the most? Could be the nostrils, the throat, the chest, the belly, your shoulders. And can you now keep your attention on that area that you feel the most? So bring your attention to the area of the breath you feel the most and keep it there for one whole breath, all the way in, all the way out, without your attention wandering. So just do that. We're training attention to stay where we choose because we're doing this through choice. We're choosing where to put our attention and we're training it to stay there. Now see if you can do this for 3 breaths. No force needed, just relax and count 3 breaths while you keep your attention on the breath. You may notice thoughts competing for your attention in 3 breaths. When you do notice, either you let the thoughts just be there and stay focused on your breath, or if you got lost in thought, when you notice, just return to the breath. Because that was your intention, to be with the breath. If you get distracted, once you realize you've been distracted, you just gently notice that and come back to your intention, which is the breath. Now let's see if we can do it for 7 breaths. Relax and just gently rest your attention on the sensations of the breath and keep your attention there for 7 breaths. If you get distracted when you notice that you're maybe not on the breath, just smile and return your attention to that breath. It is that returning, that noticing if you've been distracted and returning, that is the part of the workout that strengthens your attention muscle, so to speak. It's okay. We all do it. It's a very human thing. Just notice, smile, and return. As many times as it takes, be patient. Now, what I want to do is show you a bit of neurology, a bit of the neuroscience around this one. So the slide here has got a picture of some brains, and highlighted on them are areas where it was particularly active at the time that the person was doing what they were doing. So you see this first on the left. What it has is the gray area. And that area is the area that's been developed. That's the new neurons forming. There's more blood going there, more oxygen going there. So there's neurogenesis occurring right there. You're doing a workout when you're paying attention to something and you're purposefully. So That's the workout. You're actually growing your brain there. Then what happens? Excuse me, something's happening here with this. There we are. Mind wandering. What happens there is your mind gets distracted, it goes off somewhere. This is everybody, it's not just you. And different parts of the brain are working out. We're already pretty good at this. So you see different areas totally with mind wandering. You suddenly become aware. I thought you remember you wanted to be on the breath. And there are two areas now that happen. One, you suddenly, you've got two little pieces there, active areas, which are to do with awareness. And that's a key part of a mindfulness. You suddenly notice what's going on. And because you notice, you've now got choice. Now you choose. So you choose now to redirect your attention back to the breath, and you'll see the gray area at the front on the right is now active again. And there's a little area at the back to do with redirection, really willpower. This is, I've decided to do this. I'm doing something else. And now I'm going to purposefully choose to do this. And that area of the brain gets stronger as well. So with that workout, you're actually growing attention, awareness, and your redirection ability. You do that 50 times in a short period of space of time, and you're doing quite a workout. You're growing your brain. That's what mindfulness meditation, one of the key parts of it is. I hope that makes sense. So in a sense, what we're doing in this one is you choose to do something such as pay attention to your breath. So you notice your breath as you breathe in, as you breathe out. The feeling of your breath. You don't watch it. It's not a visual thing. It's not something that happens in your head. You just feel your breath. And you feel it where it's most obvious, because that's a little bit easier. Then you get distracted. There's thoughts. Did I shut the back window? Could be anything. What am I going to have for dinner? Oh, I forgot this. Da, 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 da. And then you notice, you become aware. Distracted. And all you need to do is simply come back. And you're doing that workout. You're getting stronger. You're changing your brain. So that's a chart. That's an example of a mindfulness meditation where we practice purposefully paying attention and sustaining attention on objects of choice. It doesn't have to be the breath. You could be listening to somebody. You could choose to listen to somebody. And every time you notice your mind has wandered or you're starting to think about what you want to say, you just notice that and then come back to fully listening. You could be driving. Driving is a wonderful thing to do. You really want to pay attention to what you're doing. You want to be aware of what's happening around you. And then you get caught up in thoughts. You suddenly notice you're caught up in thoughts, come back to being aware of what's going on and what you're paying and pay attention to what you're doing. You just, every time you drive, you can change your brain purposefully and consciously by doing that. Plus, become a better driver. Now, oftentimes in mindfulness meditation, many people have given it a go and they found it frustrating or difficult, or they feel as though they can't do it. Well, that's because we're human. It's not easy. That's why we do this. If it was easy, we wouldn't need to. The breath is chosen often as the object of attention. And what can happen is people might spend 10 or 20 or 30 minutes just sitting and focusing on the breath. It's a workout. Returning to the breath each time you notice it's wandered off. We did it for 7. Many people take a while before they can consistently stay with 7 breaths without wandering. So if you didn't, not a problem. It's normal. A first milestone when meditating over time is to reach about 50% of the time in meditation actually on the breath. So if you did 10 minutes of this on and off, you'd be wandering and back on the breath 50% or more of the time you're actually on the breath. That's a key milestone. That's pretty good. Before then, the mind was wandering most of the time. The next milestone after that could be to go for 3 minutes, staying fully on the breath without forgetting the breath and wandering off. So you have 3 whole minutes where you're actually paying attention to the breath. This can take months or even years to achieve. Some people very quickly because they've got a natural talent. And it doesn't matter if it takes a long time. It's changing your brain and you will be noticing differences in everyday life. So really, there's a summary of what mindfulness is, an overview. Really wanted to get across that we wanted to really notice the sensation-based reality that we live in, actual reality, rather than getting caught up in virtual reality, our thoughts. And we want to do that with two key modes of consciousness, attention and awareness. With some training, we become more and more aware, more alive, really, to what's happening. And with attention, we can focus in and really get to know what is really going on in certain key areas. Our brains are constantly being shaped, changed by experience. It's called neuroplasticity. And we can purposefully direct that change to our benefit. The wiring in our brains is not fixed, it is adaptable. For example, we can learn about kindness and we can learn to do kindness. Two totally different brain circuitries. Now, if you want to do anything better, if you want to change anything, that all begins in the mind. And think about it. Is there anything you do now which does not involve the mind? So when we improve the way we use our mind, we influence everything that we do. I invite you to purposefully train your mind. You will reap the benefits. That's it, folks. Time for questions.